There are officially over 1,000 Pokemon to choose from as of Generation 9, some of which are great, and some of which are not so great. I'm very opinionated on this stuff, believe me. One of my favorites though is none other than Grimmsnarl, the only dark fairy type to be released thus far, which I love. And so, after Nintendo announced a mystery gift in Scarlet and Violet of a shiny Grimmsnarl, I knew I had to do something stupid with it. After a little thought, I decided I was going to test the abilities of our hairy fairy, bringing him to level 100 and seeing just how quickly I could beat the game with just him and nothing else. Except this specific Grimmsnarl was not going to do the trick. No, this Grimmsnarl is based off of the one that won the 2022 Thailand National Championships, equipped with one single damaging move and very defensive stats. Thankfully, I still had the one I had caught back during the EV-only run in Sword to take his place. His name is Guy, and he is adamant about taking on Paldea solo. So we booted up the game, made the latest rendition of Isigil, started the timer, and we're on our way to sit through a lot of dialogue. I disabled cutscenes for the run, but for anyone who's played the games, you know that the term cutscene means absolutely nothing to Game Freak. 3 minutes of cinematic visuals with unskippable dialogue? Skipped, no problem. But dialogue that you have to mash A to get through that still ends up taking 3 minutes? Just keep it in. It wasn't until we got to Los Platos that it was finally time to start the challenge. At least, the first challenge of how we were gonna get Guy over from our main save to our new game. Well, I tried to use my girlfriend's Switch and our copy of Violet to trade it over, but her game needed to be updated and she didn't have enough space on her Switch to do so. So I thought I'd transfer it through Home to Violet, then trade it from there using the same method. Scarlet was properly updated for her, but trading decided to give me the finger, so I wasn't sure what to do. I tried using Home from the account that the new game was on, but I had to link a Nintendo account to do so. I didn't exactly have a spare one lying around either, so I made one live on stream. Make sure to go check out the Twitch so you don't miss out on this kind of nonsense. And I linked it to the proper profile. But psych! That doesn't work either. I looked it up and found an article saying both profiles had to share an account so you can transfer mons through Home, so now I had to figure out how to unlink an account from your profile. Newsflash, you can't. You just have to delete it. So, with a heavy heart, I deleted the freshly linked profile and its save data and made a new profile to link our primary account to. And I don't know if I'm just dumb and read the article wrong, or if there's a Pokemon-related outlet straight up lying to people, but you can't link the same account to multiple profiles. All that for nothing. Well, I guess this is a lost cause. Oh, damn it. We booted the game back up, made the latest rendition of Isigil, sat through the arduous amounts of definitely not cutscenes, and got to Los Platos for a second time. Finally, through the use of Home, we got Guy over to our new game and the run could officially start. And yes, I did leave the timer running that entire time. But don't worry, it's all part of the speedrun. Now that we could actually start the run, it was immediately time for the greatest roadblock we'd experience: obedience. You see, Guy here is level 100. I just started this save. Nintendo doesn't want a new, fresh player to be able to plow through the game with a level 100 Pokemon. So, to combat this, there is an obedience system in place. In Scarlet and Violet, prior to obtaining any of the gym badges, all Pokemon up to level 20 will obey your every command. And that goes up with every gym badge you obtain, but it isn't until you have all 8 badges that all Pokemon, regardless of level, will do the same. So we had a long road ahead of us. We defeated Pneumonia outside Mesa Goza, followed by both of the Team Star Grunts bullying Penny, and Guy only disobeyed us a total of 6 times, all of those being during that first fight, cause I guess Guy just has some kind of weird vendetta against Team Star. I mean, I can't blame him, I'm just surprised. This is when I realized something I had never known about the whole obedience thing. Did you know that your Pokemon can fall asleep if they don't obey you? Yeah, me neither. So when Guy decided it was time for a little nappy poo in the middle of battle where he was taking so much damage, I was completely blindsided. But from this newfound knowledge, I devised a plan. See, Grimmsnarl can learn Sleep Talk via TM, and I had made the 5-head play to teach Guy practically every move that he could learn prior to doing this challenge. So, after sitting through what always seems to feel like a lifetime of dialogue, and heading in the direction of our first target, Cloth, we gave our big guy the ability to use a randomly selected move from our remaining move pool whenever he may choose some much needed shut-eye over a trivial battle. Sleep Talk is locked behind the same obedience check as the rest of our moves though, so it's not a foolproof strategy. But don't worry, it's part of the speedrun. Cloth went down with little to no issues, Guy failing to obey another 6 times, learning that he will apparently hit himself from time to time when disobeying, which is real cool. And we now had the ability to sprint while riding Koraidon. This was going to be key for the rest of the run, because we basically were just going to need to be running from place to place with no grinding to be done or pit stops to be made, so the faster the better. Now it was time to remedy our obedience problem as quickly as we possibly could. There were a total of 19 required battles left in the Victory Road story before Guy would stop being a brat, so we had a ways to go. But I had an idea. Maybe, just maybe, if we started with the last gym, we'd immediately solve our biggest problem. So we ran off to Glaciato, getting as many fast travel points as we could along the way, and swiftly taking down Grusha's team. The 8th and 1st badge had been obtained, a statement I didn't think would ever make sense to say, and of course, it did not give us immediate all-level obedience. Well, only 18 more battles to go, I suppose. Since we had started at the 8th gym, we decided forget the proper order, we're going rogue, was the new strat. So up next was the Montenevera gym, the bane of all Monomon runs of these games. Since it is a double battle format, we took out the Sprigatito we had chosen at the start to join the fray, and into the quad battle gauntlet we went. This gym turned out to be the most troublesome, and Guy certainly did not do us any favors. Every battle, Sprigatito was quick to be taken out, while Guy just kind of sat there, not listening to anything I had to say, getting cursed not once, but twice, which is likely the worst thing that could happen to a Pokemon that seems to enjoy really milking its obedience checks. It was a close call against the second trainer's Haunter, but Guy felt that looming sense of death and dread wash over him, and kicked it into gear to take out the ghost before being taken out himself. Finally, we faced off against Rhyme, losing our Grass Cat right away and almost losing Guy as well, using our last Hyper Potion to stay healthy long enough to break through and take out the Mimikyu, giving us our 2nd badge. The next badge we went for was the first one in Cortando, where we had to face off against Pneumonia before taking on the gym itself. Her Rockruff and Palmy each went down without a hitch, but Guy had zero interest in putting her stupid duck to rest, refusing to obey 8 times on this one Pokemon alone. Eventually, he took out the Pompadoured bird, but the struggle was real. We ran into the same amount of problems with the battle against Katie and her bugs, but it wasn't long before we were on our way to Alfornada to take on the hardest part of the entire game, sitting through the absolutely absurdly dumb emotional spectrum practice gym test without having a stroke. It's honestly harder than it sounds. We blasted through the 2 gym trainers and headed inside to talk to the, hey, where are you going? Yeah, so I guess my brain thought we were done here and just decided to move on to Artisan for our next badge. It was a quick in and out, getting our 4th badge, but thinking it was our 5th, and therefore getting confused when Nemona didn't want to battle us. This started to become a problem as we progressed, because it began giving me some kind of complex where I thought I had discovered a glitch or something. No, buddy, you're just a little slow, and that's okay. Either way, Iono and her adoring fans were a breeze, minus the fact that both of the first 2 battles involved a whole lot of double checks. When you're paralyzed and have to worry about obedience, those stalled turns really rack up. We got our 5th badge and now it was time to fight Nemona. And I thought those double checks were bad. Imagine getting paralyzed and confused while having to deal with the obedience checks. It was like hell on earth, but don't worry, it's part of the speedrun. We made it through and headed to our next stop of Medali to take on everyone's favorite gym leader. There was no need to go to the trainers around town since I will never forget what to order for the gym test after having gotten it first try without having asked around in my first playthrough, which you should totally go watch if you haven't already. And while you're at it, maybe you could leave a like on this video and subscribe like the absolute unit you are. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, grilled rice balls, medium serving, Fire Blast style, lemon. Larry was an absolute joke, getting destroyed by 3 brick breaks delivered by a much more obedient Guy, only disobeying 1 single time the entire fight. Who's my big guy? I'd give you a treat, but hell if I know what hairy imps eat. People? I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. 6 badges in, and it was time to give the double unibrowed man his wallet. Kofu's assistant was easy work. We wasted most of our designated bidding money on some seaweed, and it was back to Kaskarafa for our 7th gym badge. But first, Miss Pneumonia had to pick a fight with us, this being the last one with her while we were still having troubles with Guy's obedience. Down she went, and we were left with just 2 battles before we no longer had to deal with those pesky obedience checks. But as we all know, at the time, I thought I was on my last fight before that point. So you can only imagine my confusion after sweeping through Kofu and only getting obedience up to level 55. You don't even have to imagine it. It's literally right here. So yeah, it took me a minute to realize, but I did eventually make my way back to Alfrenada to actually take on the gym to close out this section of the run. Guy must have thought his obedience was maxed out already though, because he did not miss a single time, obeying everything I had to say, sweeping through Tulip's team, no problem. And with that, we had collected all 8 gym badges and gained Guy's full trust, allowing the rest of the run to be easy breezy cover girl. It only took Guy disobeying us a total of 118 times to get here. Yes, I counted, but hey, that's just part of the speedrun. Now that we had complete control over our P-list pimp and the gyms had been taken care of, it was time for Guy to do what Guy does best. Clap some cheeks. It started with Bombardier, who was 2 spear breaks away from demise. Then we headed to the Dark-type Star Crew base, catching a flittle along the way because, just like the Montenevera gym, the Starfall Street stuff is the bane of all Monomon runs, because you have to have 3 Pokemon to even do the raids. So aside from my 2 extras of Sprigatito and Flittle dying like crazy while attempting the raid on the Sejin squad, I emerged victorious. But at what cost? See, the Starfall Street and Path of Legends storylines in this game are great, don't get me wrong. And the boss battles contained within are a cakewalk when you have a level 100 Grimmsnarl named Guy. But the real battle here is trying not to lose your mind, as you have to do a 2-minute raid, then sit through a minute of dialogue, then spam A through a 3-minute not a cutscene, then another bit of A mashing, only to go and do a Titan battle that takes next to no time to perform, but is followed up by what feels like an eternity of Arven talking about his dog, and take all of that and do it 4 more times, plus the time that it takes to get to the respective locations. Believe me, I love the story in these games, and when I first played through it, it was a wonderfully meticulous process that I wanted to experience. But now, if I have to hear one more word come out of Clive's stupid mouth, I just might snap a Floette in half like a twig. The only one of these 10 fights really worth noting was the battle against the final Titan Dondozo, and that is just because it was the first and only time it took me more than 1 hit to take out a Pokemon up until this point. And so, at the 6.5 hour mark, we had completed every Star Crew base and Titan fight, and it was time to get into the endgame. First up was the Pokemon League. I breezed through the interview portion, and Rika came out with a bang. Due to my disregard of utilization of game knowledge, she actually came pretty close to taking out Guy with poison jabs and iron heads from her Dawn fan. Basically, I had set up Ice Punch to sweep through the ground types, forgetting that she led with a water ground type, who lowered our accuracy with Muddy Water, into a fire ground type, who put us to sleep with Yawn, all because I hadn't properly optimized his move pool. The following Dugtrio and Clodsire were a breeze though, and it was on to Poppy. The child's arsenal went down fairly trivially: a Brick Break to take down her Elephant, Stomping Tantrum to rid of her Magnets, Foul Play to destroy her Bell, a few Terra boosted Foul Plays on her Bird, because I hadn't properly optimized once again, and another Stomping Tantrum to rid of her Ace Tinkaton, bringing us to Medali's sequel, Larry 2, An Angel Spreads His Wings. It really should have been a sequel to The Tale of Icarus though, because this man flew too close to the sun. If the sun was cold. It was an Ice Punch sweep is basically what I'm saying. I'll try to write better jokes in the future, I'm sorry. Last up was Hassel and his measly dragons. Noivern, Dragalge, and Flapple all fell to an Ice Punch, while Haxorus and his Ace Excalibur were taken down by a Spirit Break apiece, concluding the Elite Four, leaving us only with Gita to dethrone. We set up Guy's move pool with Ice Punch, Brick Break, Foul Play, and Spirit Break, and we headed to the roof to obtain the champion rank. She led with her usual Espathra, going down to a foul play. Go-Goat fell to an Ice Punch, King Gambit to a Brick Break, Avalugg to another 2 Brick Breaks, since she's such a bulky lady, Veluza to a second foul play, and a 4th and final Brick Break to crack her Blossoming Rock, winning us the champion assessment. But the Victory Road story was not quite over. Pneumonia wanted one final battle to bring it to a close, but she ended up bringing us 2. The first being another struggle to not lose it over how much time is spent sitting through dialogue in this game. I mean, come on, man. And this bit? I've been saying a lot of things about the sections that are 100% cutscenes, even though they aren't skipped by disabling cutscenes, but this bit is literally part of the cutscene that plays here when you don't disable cutscenes. Like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck, Game Freak? The fight was a breeze, but what happened afterwards? Oh yeah, another cutscene. What is even the point of disabling cutscenes when it skips all of 15 minutes of content? Whatever the case, the Victory Road storyline came to a close, and we went ahead and met Clive in front of the school from the inside, which was interesting, and took him on as swiftly as possible, almost falling to a torch song with residual poison damage, but just scraping by, allowing us to go to the schoolyard to fight Cassiopeia, but only after nightfall. So, in the meantime, we went to take on Arven at the Poco Lighthouse. Another clean sweep, finishing off the Path of Legends story. But it still wasn't nighttime, so I was a little unsure as to what to do. After a little bit of waiting, I decided just to head to the schoolyard to see what would happen, and wouldn't you know it, time travel is real. The battle against Penny was over just about as quickly as it had begun, her Sylveon being the only real threat, bringing Guy down to 95 HP with Moonblast after she manipulated him into falling in love with her. Deceitful. Very sneaky though, I'll give you that. And one of our chatters couldn't have said it better. We took out the fellow fairy type, and into yet another unskippable barrage of text we went. So glad we got to skip the actual cutscene in the middle. That would have added like 2 minutes to the 10 minutes of dialogue we had to sit through. What a shame that would have been. The Starfall Street story was complete, so all we had left was Area 0. Off to the Zero Gate we went, meeting our friends and diving into the fog to complete our journey. We set up Guy with his final move pool of Shadow Claw, Foul Play, Stomping Tantrum, and Spirit Break, and made our incredibly slow descent to the Zero Lab. Like, seriously, we started moving down to the lab at just shy of the 8-hour mark, and between all of the running, battling, and button mashing, we did not get inside the lab for another 30 minutes. Ludicrous. Either way, we did all the shenanigans with AI Seda, sending her into battle mode, and I really just wanted to finish this run at this point. Usually I go for 6 hours when I stream, so what ended up being a 9.5-hour stream was a little less than preferable, but sometimes you just gotta do it for the content. Words to live by. First out was Slitherwing, falling to a Spirit Break. Screamtail second, a Shadow Claw away from death. Sandy Shocks was third, going down to a Stomping Tantrum. Brute Bonnet went down to a quad effective Leech Life. I snuck it in there last minute, sue me. And out came Fluttermane. The ghost was ended by another Shadow Claw, leaving only her final Pokemon, Roaring Moon. The big old dragon dark type emerged from its ball, only to be sent to an early grave the same way the battle had begun, with one final Spirit Break. Down it went, and we had officially done it. I mean, we still had to sit through, like, the final battle against the Triple P, but that ain't our boy Guy, so forget about it. We had beaten the game with a level 100 Grimmsnarl. Not that this was really a test of if it was possible, but more just to see how long it would take. And to answer that question, it took us 8 hours, 53 minutes, and 12 seconds. How the current glitchless world record for this game is under 5.5, I have no answers. All in all, this was really just a showcase of just how much unskippable dialogue there is in these games. Again, love the games, but I never want to sit through this ever again. That is until I do another run, whatever it may be. Do you know the definition of insanity? That's about it from me today, but make sure to leave a comment letting me know what game and mon to do this with next. And subscribe while you're down there. But until next time, as always, have a good one, stay safe, and I'll see you around.